Since 2005, the Pioneer Valley Performing Arts Charter Public School in South Hadley has partnered with students from New York City for the Music and Poetry Synchronized Program, also referred to as MAPS. Throughout the past 15 years, over 450 students, grades 7 through 12, have participated in the program, which aims to bring together students from different geographic, socioeconomic, and cultural backgrounds to collaborate on music and poetry. Executive Director Tom Willits and Program Officer Ilana Morris joined Connecting Poets Zydalis Bauer to talk more about the program.
We started the program 14 years ago. At the time, I was teaching at PVPA, and I was teaching songwriting, and I knew a gentleman in New York City and actually was volunteering, teaching poetry, college-level poetry to some elementary school kids in the worst performing school in Manhattan at the time. And so he came to me, suggested the idea that at that time it was middle school students that I was working with at PVPA. And so we created the program. The kids down in New York wrote poetry. And then the kids that I worked with on the music side wrote the songs using the poems as the lyrics to create a full experience. And then we had a concert in either Massachusetts or in New York. We would alternate the 2 years. And so we went on that way for this, of course, as I said, 14 years ago, and it went till early, maybe 2011. We moved it up to high school level. And so we now have a different partnership in New York, different school. 2 schools actually in New York, and we continue to run that program at PVPA as well.
Now, Ilana, speaking of middle school students, you started in 8th grade in this program, and now you've kind of come full circle and are the program officer. Talk to me about your experience in the program.
It was, at that time, the first semester, it was split between 2 semesters, and the first semester was just a songwriting course, and then the second semester was the MAPS program. And I met some of my closest friends in that class, and I think that the most important thing, the really key thing about MAPS is the collaboration aspect of it. That from a young age, I was taught how to work with other people, not just from cross cultures, like people from other schools, but also my peers within PVPA, working with them in groups, in bands to build a song, build a cohesive song. And I actually find that collaboration has helped me almost every step of the way throughout my career up to this point. I enjoy collaborating with other people. I find that some of my best ideas come when I'm able to bounce them off of other people, and I think that's one of the most important things that MAPS taught me from a young age.
And how does it feel for you to come back and be a mentor to these students that were in the same position that you were in?
It's so much fun. I realize too how much I sort of took for granted as a student at PVPA, all the amazing talent that I was surrounded by, and going back and seeing that hasn't died, 10, 15 years later, that it's really, what's the word I'm looking for? It's inspiring. It's inspiring to see young people continuing to be creative. It's inspiring to see young people embracing working with each other. And it's inspiring seeing young people motivated and excited about what they're doing.
One thing that I thought was impressive, and Ilana, you're clearly a testament to that, is all the accomplishments that students leave with after completing the program. I mean, they're published poets and songwriters. Talk to me some about the other accomplishments that they leave.
Well, I think that there's no question we've also had the opportunity to expand the program beyond New York and Massachusetts. We're now in Connecticut and in Vermont, and also very recently in Puerto Rico. And so I think that in all cases, Ilana spoke just brilliantly to the idea of collaboration. And the collaboration, I think, as we're in a period of time where social justice, racial equity, these spaces that people are really focused on and need to be focused on, we've been accomplishing for a long time, because we're really working with 2 different sort of worlds, where we really have the poetry coming out of urban spaces, and we have the music coming out of more rural spaces. So even from that standpoint, you can understand the difference, the geographical difference, also the cultural difference, and the edge that exists, and that's the reason we've continued to sort of focus the poetry in that urban space, is there's a real edge to what they write about. In many cases, the kids who are in a more rural space have not had the same experience with. That's not always true, but I think that you can draw certainly some conclusion that they're different. And this idea of different cultures, different kids, different lives, they live very different lives. And we work to bring that out, not only in the creative endeavor, but also just in the time that we've expanded the time that the kids spend with each other. It used to be just one day, and now we're doing 2 full days in each location during a program a year. And that's been really great because they get a chance to build more of a relationship and friendship, which I think is helpful.
Speaking of the Puerto Rico partnership, how did that collaboration come about?
One of our board members, who has actually been a board member from the beginning of the program, he has family down there. And so one day last September, a year ago, he just said, maybe we ought to think about doing a program. And that was all it took. And then the great thing is that PVPA is really a really fabulous school for innovation and exploration and doing exciting programming. So I can't say enough about what they've done, to help us always. But when I raised it with the administration, they were like, "You kidding? That's like the perfect program for PVPA to do." So, and we're really fortunate that we've had great funding partners. The Hartford Foundation for Public Giving has been great. It's some of their funds there, and we're ever having the opportunity to bring more funds to be able to expand the program, because that's really what we're looking to do now.
Ilana, I just wanted to point out too that this is way more than just learning how to write poetry and music. There's life skills coming out of this. What do these programs mean to these students to have it available in their schools?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. There are a vast amount of life skills that students are gaining from the MAPS program. It's an opportunity to network, and that's often something that students, if they have the privilege to, don't have that opportunity until they get to college, if they have the privilege to go to college. And it's also an opportunity to gain more practical life skills, public speaking. At the end of the program, we do a concert, so the students who write the poetry can go up and recite their poems, and then they get to see live in concert their poems being performed as songs. And so it's also an opportunity to perform in front of a live audience. And I think it boosts students' confidence, it boosts students' grades, and overall it helps them stay more focused in their academics, even in their home life. If there's distractions going on at home, it can give them something to focus on.
Tom, being one of the co-founders and also one of the first 2 teachers of MAPS, how does it feel to see how far this program has grown? Well,
there couldn't be a greater example than Ilana, and she's been working for MAPS in different capacities. She actually taught the program as well last January, but having her as sort of the quintessential MAPS success, in that she started where she did, graduated from school, college, and has a music degree, is a professional singer, great professional singer, and that she works for the program. It only warms my heart that we've been able to accomplish that. And she's one of many. We've had almost 500 kids go through the program. And that's just in its smaller size. Now that we've tripled the size of the program, obviously we'll be impacting a lot more kids as we go forward. And so it's come a long ways. I think we've learned a lot. I think right now we're in the midst of actually accomplishing data to understand better what we're successful at and what we're not. So we're really evolving to try to understand more of what can we do for those students to really bring them along in all ways and help them be more successful in their lives beyond, as Ilana says, the creative process, which has certainly been the bedrock of the program, but there's so much more that happens.
And that's Connecting Points.